Ontario Premier Doug Ford has cruised to a third straight majority government. His progressive Conservatives were declared re-elected just minutes after most polls in the province closed.
Wow, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Boy, what a crowd. Thank you so much, and what a night, and what a result. Thank you so much. Together we have made history. Together we have secured a strong, historic third majority mandate. A mandate to protect Ontario from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for being here, for sharing this incredible moment with me. Democracy only works if people are willing to step up and step forward. Our province is stronger because of your decision to do so, so I want to thank all the candidates. During my time in office, I hope I've proven I will work with anyone, I will work with everyone to get things done.
The NDP formed the official opposition again, but with a reduced seat count. NDP leader Marit Stiles said the results aren't everything we hoped for, but that the people of Ontario made their choice.
Look, we set out in this election to form a government on your side. Now, the results aren't everything that we hoped for, but the people of Ontario made their choice. They've re-elected the government, hoping it will help protect them from Donald Trump and his tariffs, and they've entrusted me and my team to do a different, but also very important job. Our job is to hold this government to account. And that is the job that we are going to do with our usual fight and our determination, but also with love and hope and optimism.
Although Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie lost her riding, during her address to supporters, she celebrated the fact that the Liberal Party is back to official party status.
Listen, running for office is no small thing. So no matter who you ran for, or our province and our democracy are better because of the hard work, right? So thank you. I know tonight isn't exactly the result we were looking for, but you should be very, very proud of what we did tonight. People counted us out. They said the Ontario Liberal Party was dead. Tonight, you prove them wrong. The Ontario Liberal Party is back to official party status, and that's a big milestone. But it gets better. We increased our share of the vote substantially to 30%.
We're going to bring in Dr. Lydia Miljan, professor and head of the Political Science Department at the University of Windsor. Dr. Miljan, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Theresa.
Now, Doug Ford called this snap election well in advance of when the original election was originally scheduled. Many commented on how it was a big gamble on his part, but what do you think were the keys for him to secure another majority government, something that hasn't been done since the 1950s?
Well, he was able to seize the time, seize the opportunity. I mean, it was pretty clear that he had been planning this for quite some time. I remember fielding calls about this back in the fall. And the fact remains, there were those checks in the mail just as the writ was being dropped. But I think he really took the opportunity of the moment, which was the threats from Donald Trump and the tariffs. And he really was able to capture the imagination of Ontarians, because if you recall, when this all sort of unfolded in early January, he was actually one of the few people on the national stage really setting out the agenda for Canada. And so he was able to capitalize on that at a time when the federal government was weakened with their own leadership problems.
Well, as you just highlighted, Premier Ford was a huge advocate for the Team Canada approach when it came to Donald Trump's tariff threats, both in Canada but also with U.S. media. How much do you think that actually played a role, not only with voters, but also kind of making the other party leaders have a hard time campaigning against that?
It's true. I mean, really, if you think about just what we've been captivated by for the last month, it's all been about the tariffs and how to respond to them. And even to insofar as as much as the opposition parties really tried to attack him on his record, things like the green belt or broken promises with respect to healthcare, that wasn't top of mind. When he's going to Washington, D.C. during an Ontario election campaign, that becomes the headline. And so that really focuses people's attention on that. And so, yeah, it was especially difficult for Merritt Stiles, Bonnie Crombie, Mike Schreiner to get anything into the news media and to get their voices heard. They got a little bit during the debates, but that certainly wasn't enough to change people's overall impression about the government.
Now, we know that Ontario hasn't had three straight majority governments since 1959. Why is this the case?
Well, I think in Canada, we like to vote out governments, and typically a government has a couple terms of office. That's sort of the normal thing. 10 years, 8 to 10 years seems to be a normal course of events, and we get kind of tired of them, and then we want to try something new. So this is unusual. It's not that we haven't had consecutive governments, though, right? If you think about Dalton McGuinty, he won two majorities, then a minority, and then when Kathleen Wynne came in, she won another majority. So we've had, other governments that have actually lasted longer. This is just unusual that he isn't being delayed with a minority government. That he actually has a pretty strong majority, not as big as he'd like, but certainly it's an impressive victory.
Both the NDP and Liberals attempted to make healthcare a major issue while campaigning. Why do you think they failed to make progress on this issue?
I think it's just such a thorny issue. It's not as if it was a problem that just happened over the last 6 years during Doug Ford's mandate. I mean, he obviously famously started his initial foray into politics saying he was going to end hallway medicine. That means that there was a problem before that. It was a problem that the NDP, when they're in government, couldn't fix. The Liberals couldn't fix it. So I don't know if Ontarians have a high expectation that anyone's going to solve the problem. Everybody talks about it, but we don't really see any real movement on the policy front. They all have said they're going to invest more, but that's not really solving the problem. We really have to rethink how healthcare is delivered, and nobody wants to have that conversation. And so I think that's why it just doesn't become an issue that people can say, oh, I can see the difference between all the different parties when they're all basically promising to do something.
Now, obviously, Doug Ford won, but there's a lot of talk about whether or not the election can actually be considered a success for the NDP and the Liberals. Now, for the NDP, they kept their position as official opposition. Should that be considered a win for that party?
Not really. They lost some seats. I think what's remarkable about the NDP victory is that their popular support was lower than that of the Liberals, yet they were much more effective at getting people out to vote where it mattered. And so their conversion rate was really high. And I think that's a real success story for them. But I don't think they can rest on their laurels. I mean, the fact remains they lost popular support and they did lose some seats. And certainly the Liberals can claim some victory insofar as that they, as Bonnie Crombie pointed out, they're over 30% now. They're no longer in the doldrums, not having official party status. So they've built something of the party, but they've got a long way to go. They've really got to regroup and rebuild at the base level, their constituency associations. They didn't have a full slate of candidates at the start of the campaign. And even at the end of the day, there were candidates that dropped out, and that really benefited the other parties.
Well, Bonnie Crombie has highlighted that she intends to remain as Liberal leader despite losing her seat. How likely is it that the party is going to keep her as a leader? You did just kind of mention that they do need to go under construction. So, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think if she positions herself as someone who's able to rebuild the grassroots, she might have another shot at this. It is difficult when you don't have a seat yourself, but I think they're in that stage where considering that they're not official opposition, her lack of her absence at the legislature, I don't think is going to be missed. I think her strong suit is fundraising, is building up the grassroots, and I don't know if the Liberals have a big appetite for yet another leadership race. They just elected her a short time ago. There's the federal leadership race going on for the Liberals as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of voter fatigue for that kind of thing, and so that might give her a chance to make the case why she should stay on. And lots of things happen in politics. 4 years is a long mandate, and certainly there will be by-elections that she can try for again. And I think that might be the bigger test for her.
And if we take a look at the Green Party, they kept their two seats but failed to get a third. For Green supporters, should this election be seen as a success?
I don't think so. I mean, they really didn't make any headway. Holding to two seats. It doesn't matter if Schreiner calls himself the the unofficial official opposition. Two seats is a poor showing. Considering that people are very concerned to the environment, I think it's very difficult to be a party that has that sort of single focus. As much as he talks about other issues and holding the government to account, I think just the association as a Green Party seems to be a non-starter in Canada.
Well, Dr. Miljan, thank you so much for the time today.
My pleasure, Teresa.